Harley-Davidson 2021 Ultra Limited Low. Does it even exist? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, I wanted to do a video today. We got some overcast and everything, so I figured it might as well just knock this one out, answer some questions that people may have. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I had the exact same questions. So I am 5'6", and my inseam is 30 inches. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to purchase an ultra limited because of all the creature comforts, the touring capacity, and the fact that 90% of the time I ride with my wife. So it's 2 up, right? So we do 300 plus miles on a fairly regular basis. And so I wanted the ultra limited. I mean, there was other options as well, but I think that this is based on all the data, this is the bike that I wanted. Problem is, again, as I mentioned, I'm 5'6", 30-inch inseam. That's not what it's designed for. So what I ended up doing is I worked with the dealer when I bought it to lower it. The 2021 did not have a low for the year, and I wouldn't have bought a low anyway, and I'll explain why. But anyway, wanted to show you what I have, what modifications were made, what revisions after the fact that I made in order to make it a more comfortable ride and a better bike. Right, so let's go ahead and get to it. As you can tell, it looks very much like an ultra limited. The differences that we did is we got lower forks. We also got lower rear shocks, and I'll show you those in a second. And we got the low seat. Now, as you notice, the low seat is actually hanging and is not in use right now, and I'll explain to you guys about that here in just a second. But we're going to go over the detailed information about the shocks, and we'll start there, the front and the back. So let's talk about the front shocks first. So obviously we all know they're forks. So the part number that we got was 454-00105 fork assembly, and that provided a shorter distance, which lowered the bike in the front. So if you're going to lower the front, you need to lower the back. What we went with was the Revo A's, and we got the 12-inch Revo A's with when I'm actually on the seat. Let me talk a little bit about it. When I'm actually on the seat, it's supposed to compress about 1/2 inch. That's what it's designed for, and it's currently only about 1/4 inch if it's just me. That's without any additional bags or storage. But when I ride with my wife, we get the compression necessary. We get it down to 1/2 inch compression. We also have adjusted, and I'll zoom in here in a second. We also adjusted the return. They recommend that you start off on 3. We found that the ride for 5 works for us better. All right, Revo A's, back shocks. So let's talk about the seats. Okay, so I've stacked the 2 seats that I have, one on top of the other. The one on the bottom is the one that came with the bike. That's the original factory seat. The one on top is the low seat. It's actually if you bought the ultra limited low, that's the seat you would get. And you can tell that there is a gap, or that there is a difference in the cushion in this area right here. You can also see where I sit is actually further back than this one. If I was to put it even, just get it even nose to nose, you can see that the bottom one is a little bit further back. That does cause some problems, so we'll talk about that here now. So let's talk about some of the challenges. So with the original seat, I'm up about an extra inch, right? I mean, that's really what it's designed to do, is provide you an extra inch with the low seat, right? So I am higher. However, because the forks are shorter and the shocks are shorter, I have a pretty good clearance, and I'll actually show a little video clip of what it looks like with me sitting in the original seat with the back shocks, the Revo A's, not configured correctly, still about a quarter of an inch too high. But you'll see that there's minimal problems as far as clearance is concerned. I'm almost touching my heel to the ground. Of course, I'm wearing what I would normally wear on the bike, so that means the right boots for the motorcycle ride. If my wife is on and we keep the original seats on, I flat foot it most of the time. The only difference is that if I am at an angle or slant or something like that, right, then you're going to have the challenge. But the fact of the matter is that I am flat-footed pretty much all the time when it's the two up with the Revo A's and the new forks and the original seat, right? And so then I found if I leave the shocks with a quarter inch instead of the half inch it's supposed to have, a half inch of compression, and I use the low seat, I flat foot when I'm at a full stop. So it's not worth the effort, I found, to keep replacing the low seat with the original seat if I'm riding solo. It's just not worth it. I mean, I could always just go fix the shocks and have a little bit better ride anyway, but again, it's so negligible that I don't see an absolute need to do any of that stuff. So my typical ride solo is with the Revo A's, the modified the shorter forks, and then the original seat. And then let's talk about some of the bonuses of doing that conversion instead of buying a low. So the first thing that I want to mention about the difference between buying the low and buying the Ultra and going through the modifications is the fact that the handlebars are different, they're thicker, and it includes a heated hand grips. I live in Colorado, so this is indispensable. One of the reasons why I looked at the Ultra Limiteds in the first place. So the second most important thing as to why I got the Ultra Limited instead of the low was the floorboards for the passenger. Since I do a lot of two-up riding, that was an essential requirement. In fact, the previous bike was a Heritage Classic, 2019 Heritage Classic, and it had pegs. And we were in the process of replacing those pegs with floorboards. So, I mean, if I was willing to make that effort to put floorboards for the passenger on a Heritage Classic, then I certainly would want the same thing on the Ultra Limited. So I've already talked about the seats, the difference between the seats. We went to the Daytona Bike Week back in March, and with this bike, and we rode the entire way there and back on the low seat, and we noticed that it just didn't provide the support necessary to really enjoy the ride. I mean, we made it. It was a lot better than if we had taken the Heritage Classic by leaps and bounds, no question about it. However, the low, even though it is a touring seat, just really didn't provide the comfort that we expected, especially once we hit 400 miles or more. Our longest day was 671 miles, and we were miserable after that. When we got home, we put the original seat back on, and we've been doing some riding since then, it's made a world of difference. I know that a lot of people complain about the original seat, and that's usually one of the first things people replace. However, for what we need, it meets that need. Obviously, we'll look into getting a different seat down the road based on the comfort, right? If we're going to continue to do long tours, 1,800 miles each way kind of a deal, we definitely want to make sure we pick the right seat for the trip. However, we still need to make sure that the height isn't impacted, so that's one of the challenges. The second problem I want to address that I have to deal with is the location of the passenger floorboards. Because the original seat pushes me back towards the passenger when I put my feet down onto the ground at a stop, the passenger floorboards can hit the back of my legs, hit my calf muscles. But I've noticed that I subconsciously adjust, and so now it never happens. So it's just a matter of, I think, if I were to try to rationalize it and figure out what I'm doing without actually doing some camera shots, I think what's happening is as I approach to a stop, I will scoot forward a little bit and then leverage that to avoid getting hit in the calf muscles by the floorboards after the complete stop, or if there's any rolling or anything like that, or if I don't get my feet up fast enough during the takeoff. So anyway, they have been identified as a problem. That's why they went to the pegs in the first place for the lows. But like I said, subconsciously I've made the adjustments so that I don't even notice that the floorboards are back there anymore. So it's all good. Overall, I'm extremely happy with the modifications that I've done to the Ultra Limited. It's a favorite bike. I've had multiple bikes in the past. We've obviously done a lot more touring, and this was a really good upgrade. And I would strongly encourage anybody who is shorter than the specs that they state. I'd encourage them to do some research, talk to your parts department at your local Harley dealership, and see what they can do. And for me, it worked out great, because I was originally just going to go with the seat, and they went through and we had a large discussion about the impact and what we could do better, and I think that this solution works fantastic. All right, that's it. Thanks. Hey, I just wanted to also mention that I got the extender for the kickstand. Anyway, that made a world of difference too, especially with the original seat. The low seat, no problem reaching it, but it's just a little bit more difficult without that extension with the original seat. Anyway, thanks. And of course, I knew I would forget something, so I forgot something. So just want to remind, please like, comment, subscribe. And as far as comments are concerned, I'm sure that I didn't answer all the questions that you might have. For someone who's willing to put the money down on a large touring bike like the Ultra Limited and have some height concerns as far as rider height, for those that have concerns about their height and whether or not they're going to fit on the Ultra Limited, please put a comment and a question below. I'll answer all of them. So thanks for watching, and again, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.